ओम सर्व वेदांत सिद्धांत गोचरम तम गोचरम गोविंदम परमानंदम सद्गुरुम प्रणतोस्म्यहम. Friends, today we are starting a wonderful scripture. Though technically it is called Prakarana Grantha, but it is really a full scripture. And it is the heart of Shankaracharya. There are some moderners who say that this is not by Shankaracharya. So we throw them. Swami Vivekananda has told, the more modern an interpreter, the more mistakes he makes. And the tradition accepts that this may be the last book written by Shankaracharya. I would call it the heart of Shankaracharya. All his life experience he has poured into it, and is able to make us reach the absolute Jivan Mukti. And that is a special theme of this book, Jivan Mukti. And so, this is, I may say, the very heart of Shankaracharya. If you want to know Shankaracharya, we can know through this book what he is and what he thinks. And one more point I want to tell. As usual, we have to start with the Anubandha Chatushtaya. And the first in the Anubandha Chatushtaya is Vishay. And Vishay Vastu, I would start by what I call the Nama Nirvachan, the meaning of the name of the book. And the traditional, or I won't call it traditional, the meaning which is literally taken is wrong, please. Let me tell you, my Guruji was taught by Mahapurush Maharaj how to read Shankar Bhashyas. And he told him that you conceive, visualize Shankar's personality, and then only you can understand what he talks. And when we think of Shankar's personality, such type of bragging never suits him. That I am writing a book which is the best among the Viveka books. Nonsense. This cannot be the meaning. Though it appears on the surface, this is the meaning. This is a surface meaning, not the correct meaning. First of all, let us think of the word Viveka. Now we know that Viveka is taken as Vivek, Vairagya, Sadhan Chatushtaya. They are taken as sadhana. They are taken as adhikar. And how can that Vivek be here? So the meaning of the words first one has to understand to know the meaning of the sentence. One must first understand the meaning of the words. How can we know this meaning? That it is Viveka normally taken as a part of adhikar for listening to Vedanta. Can that be the meaning of the word Viveka here? And can Shankar call his book as the best among the Viveka books? Impossible. So what could it be the meaning? What could be the meaning of the word Viveka? Viveka is the Chudamani of all Vedantic books, that you can say. Vivek is the, not books, the books are not mentioned by these people. Viveka is the Chudamani of all spiritual merits a man has. That is the meaning. Not that this is a book which is Chudamani among books on Viveka. Who else has written books on Viveka, tell me? Where are other books on Viveka to compare? So, it is not the best book in Viveka, no. Viveka is the best or the Chudamani of all spiritual merits a man can have. And what is that Viveka? On our path to Brahman. Every time we may wrongly feel we have achieved Brahman. And one has to discriminate there, whether I have reached Brahman or not. That is Viveka. Viveka, discrimination of whether I have reached Brahman or not, whether that is the final goal or not, what I am feeling is final or not. This Viveka is the Chudamani of all spiritual merits a man can have. So one has to understand the meaning of the word Viveka. And now the whole scene changes before us. The whole scene changes. This is a book, as I was telling you, which describes Jivan Mukti in such glorious words. Is that Viveka? So please, this is a gross meaning. This is the literal apparent meaning. I would call it the apparent meaning. That this book is the best among books on Viveka. Impossible. Shankar would never brag his book to be. And where are the other books on Viveka? So the only meaning which it carries is that unless you have Viveka, you cannot reach the goal of life. Unless you have Viveka from beginning to end, you cannot reach the goal of life. Till the end of spiritual life, till you achieve the goal of spiritual life, Viveka has to be with you. At every step, all sadhakas are liable to make this mistake that I have reached the goal, and which may not be true. So, lot of pseudo Vedanta goes on, lot of experience similar to Brahmajnan goes on, but that is not the real end of life. So the meaning of the word Viveka Chudamani is that Viveka, real, is the Chudamani, the crushed jewel of every spiritual merit which you have. That is the meaning. And mind you, it is not only written by Shankara, it is the outpouring of his heart. In all his bhashyas, he is limited by the text. He has to interpret that text. But here he is giving free range to his genius. We have seen already his Aparukshanubhuti and Atmabodh and Vakyavrutti. Now here there are 580 verses. So he is giving full range to his genius. And he is taking us right through all the difficulties and making us reach the goal of life. That is the meaning of the word Viveka Chudamani. And what is the goal of life? Jivan Mukti. That is the goal of life. That means we may be living in the body and yet we will be free. There is a beautiful shloka in Vedanta. I will tell you an incident. Sri Ramakrishna's Vedanti disciple, Swami Turiyanandaji, is one day thinking or feeling in his mind that I have absolutely no desire, then why I am living in this body? People live in the body because of their desires. I have absolutely no desire. Then why I am in this body? And he was in this perplexed mood for several days. But one day he came across a shloka in a Vedantic book. And that shloka is Jivan Mukti Rasa Swada Hetave Janmadharitam Atmana Nitya Muktena Natu Sansara Kamya. Atma has taken a birth, not with the desire of enjoying sansar, not with the desire of transmigrating. Atman has taken a birth only to see that even in the body I am mukta. Jivan Mukti Rasa Swada. There is a little part where Jivan Mukti Sukha Prapti. So the rasa, the bliss, he is tasting that though I am living in the body, I am free, absolutely free. And so this freedom while living in the body is the goal as declared by this very verse. So this is what Shankara is showing us. Shankara is showing us the summum bonum of life, that you will be continuing in the body, that does not matter, but you will be free while living in the body. Need not. So many people have this thought, when they will die, they go to some Vaikuntha or Kailasha and will not come back. That is not Mukti. Mukti is now and here. All our scriptures tell, Yehaivater Jata Sargo. Yached Avedi Tata Satyamasti. Everywhere this word is there, here itself in this very life. So if some people think that one cannot realize in this life, after death one realizes, we pity them. When Shankar declares, when all the Upanishads have declared, Marathi saint Gyaneshwar tells, people say that, some people say that you cannot realize. He says then, what are the Vedas? He compares Vedas to Shruti Kaya Vayasa Dhekuru Deti. That means when a man's stomach is filled, he belches. So all the rishis, being fulfillment of life, their belches, their exclamations, oh, where is the goal? That is Vedas. So absolute experience of the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the life after Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which is free from every blemish, and that Jivan Mukti is the very goal of life. And then who is qualified for that? That Shankara will himself explain in the beginning, very great details. And one thing I'll tell you, that so and so is qualified does not mean that others are not. Some people may have slower degree of qualification. Some may be having middling degree of qualification. Some may be having very high degree of qualification, but Shravan Manan Nididhasan will give everybody the required goal. Jokingly I say, jokingly means seriously, that here in spiritual life, like university examination, passing is not 30 or 35% or 50%. For passing, you must have 670, you must have 10% marks. And nobody is capable of getting 10% marks by human effort. So if a man can get 90% marks by his effort, 10% he receives as grace of God. And if he gets only 10%, he will get 90% as the grace of God. So here the grace of God is so much emphasized by Shankaracharya. Though people know Shankar as the propagator of self-effort, but everywhere he says God's grace, God's grace. And then, so Adhikari, everybody is Adhikari. By hearing, listening will become really Adhikari. And so we have come to that. And the goal I have told, no, the question remains, while talking, I already described it, how to study to gain advantage from that. And if this has come out of Shankara's heart, we have to receive it by our heart. Some people ask, what is heart? Well, then you are not qualified, I would say. Heart is the instrument given by God to experience God. Mind is the instrument given to us to go outside ourselves. Mind connects our eye consciousness with the indriyas and outside world. And that mind has to be purified again and again. But heart is given only to experience God. Heart is given only to experience universal love because God is everywhere. So we'll see how Shankar explains that adhikar and all the required things he will explain. So we start with the to understand and feel the Mangalacharan. Now the first word of Mangalacharan, we have to go word by word, very carefully. Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam is the first word. What is Gocharam? Gocharam, in one sense, is the meadow where the cows graze. But Go means Indriyas. Gocharam is available to the Indriyas, but this has become a key word. Indriyas cannot reach there. Mind cannot reach there. But Gocharam becomes amenable to, realizable by, to be experienced by, not Indriyas. Though the word literally means, no word is to be taken literally. Part of the meaning is taken. So Gocharam, literal meaning will be available to Indriyas. But Gocharam has been adopted as available to. I will give a small example. I think I have given somewhere. You know, the jam or jelly, mango jelly, the original name is Moramba. In Hindi, Murabba. More means sugar. Once upon a time, sugar came to India through Mauritius. And so it was called more. Amba is mango in Marathi. So Moramba means sweet made out of mango. And now we make sweet made out of other things. We say Amlaki Moramba. No, properly it is Moravada. But this Moramba becoming the root common word for sweet made of a fruit. And so even Ved ka Moramba, Baas ka Moramba. So this Morabba, in Hindi, Morabba does not carry any meaning. Huh? Anyway, I don't want to digress. But every word teaches from where it has originated. That we can understand by the word. Anyway, so you understand now?
Over internet.
Moramba normally literally means
मम्मी
a
त्याच्यावरती
sweet
बघते
made of mango.
एक सेकंड ना.
But then sweet made of any other fruit, we use that fruit name and Moramba. So Gocharam literally means available to the senses, but we use that word in the sense of available to, whatever. What it is available to? Siddhanta Gocharam. Siddhanta means when we read Upanishads, lot of argumentation, lot of methods of explanation, lot of examples, and then we get a conclusive sentence.
होते
Siddhanta Vatya means a conclusive sentence of Upanishads. And that is the only means to realize God. So many things he is telling in this Mangalacharya itself. Man by his intellect can never reach it. Intellect is human intellect. It works in the limited field where our indriyas only can go. So some data has to be provided, then the intellect works on that data. But here what data can be provided? So what is our instrument of realizing God? Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta. Vedanta first I have to tell you now. Vedanta, please, Vedanta is not a philosophy. I don't accept that point at all. Veder Anta Vedanta. The culmination of Vedas is Vedanta. Vedanta is much better to be understood in this sense. Not one of the best philosophies of India. No, no, no. What will a philosophy do? Philosophy only shows the way. Veda means, we have told this several times, but let me repeat it every time because we are dealing with a fundamental book. Vedas means knowledge. Ved means to know. Vedas would mean the knowledge, but Vedas do not mean all knowledge. The knowledge, I am quoting Swami Vivekananda here, the knowledge which we gather by our five sense organs and reasoning based upon that five sense organs is called physical science. Yogaja Sukshma Shakti Grahya, that is Vedas. When we follow the practices prescribed, every science has its own methods. So when we follow the methods prescribed by the spiritual teachers, and then a sukshma, subtler perception, the power of subtler perception is aroused in us. A power of subtler perception is aroused in us. We saw it even in Patanjali Yoga Sutra. The whole life depends first upon arousal of the power of perception given to us, subtler perception, that which is not experienced by the sense organs, but direct, more direct experience. The Vedanta would call it alokika pratyaksha, more direct than the knowledge gathered by the five senses, but of the subtler entities which knowledge cannot be gathered by the five senses. Pancha tanmatras are there. Mind is there. Now, some people are discussing Western psychology. Western psychology, behavioral psychology. We want that psychology which you can perceive the mind and then decide upon the psychology. So, I take example, brilliant example is Sri Krishna's example. He is telling that you are all sitting before me. What do I see? Minds, all minds. So minds can be properly seen. But the most fundamental of this supersensuous perception is the perception of consciousness in matter. Agni Devata, Vayu Devata, Indra Devata. What is the difference? I am, first of all, we have to perceive ourselves as consciousness. That is the very first point. If we perceive ourselves as body or indriya or mind, we are not perceiving ourselves at all. If we perceive ourselves as a consciousness associated somehow with this body and mind complex, then outside what we see, consciousness, people call it personification. Consciousness associated with fire, wherever fire exists. Fire exists in your kitchen, my kitchen. Fire exists in ocean. Fire exists in forest. Fire exists in our stomach. But all fire is one, and there is a consciousness pervading this fire. That is called Agni Devata. Vayu Devata. Wind, whether I am breathing in and out is wind. Wind is there in the sky. So space. So wind, wherever it is, there is a consciousness presiding over that wind or consciousness interpenetrating that wind. That is called Vayu Devata. And the Devata Jnana, direct perception of Devata, not three people. My Guru used to tell three types of people. Other than the ordinary man. Poet, he imagines certain things. Even the best of the poets, anyway, people will get angry on me. Even I will not take the name. Even the Nobel laureates, even the best poets, imagine things they do not experience. We call it Bhavanubhav. Through imagination, they are having some experience, not actually experience. Rishis only experience. Philosophers intellectually speculate. That is also not experience. One who can experience transcendental truths is called a Rishi, Rishi Darshanat. And what that Rishi sees is Vedas. There is a beautiful essay I recommend to all of you. Hinduism and Ramakrishna by Swami Vivekananda. There he has described all these things beautifully. So, when we directly experience subtler truths, no imagination there, no bhav, no rising of emotion. Emotion is biological. No rising of emotion. The faculty of experience grows. The faculty of experience is made higher and higher. And all of us have that faculty of experiencing supersensuous truth. But we do not practice it, so we do not know it. Everybody of us has. And the adhikar of Vedanta, now I come to this point. Adhikar of Vedanta comes by arousing the faculty of experiencing supersensuous truth. This is adhikar. In one sentence, the adhikar is the faculty, the power of experiencing supersensuous truth is called the adhikar. Now, when such adhikari listens to an authority who has already experienced the highest truth, then it shines in his heart. So there comes the question of heart. What is heart? The faculty of experiencing supersensuous truth. I'm modifying a little. First I said, heart is the place where we experience God. Now I'll say, heart is the place where you can experience the supersensuous truths. And that is with everybody. We are not using it. We are drowned in our emotional world. And this emotion is ruination. Emotion is biological. Emotion takes us outside. But when we experience transcendent truth, we go inside and inside. We go not only inside ourselves, we go the inside of the world and we find God there. And so, this is Vedas. Vedas means the knowledge gathered by Yogaja Sukshma Shakti Grahya, and this is of three types. The first is Devata Jnana. But because of selfishness in ourselves, we demand from the Devatas, please give me this and give me that. Then if you want something, you have to give something. And this gives rise to Karma Kanda of the Vedas. And these truths of Karma Kanda, Mundaka Upanishad tells, Satyam, they are true. That if we do such work, we get such a result, is true, relatively. So the second part of subtler knowledge is that what karma phal comes out of what karma. We cannot see by our eyes. We cannot reason it out. Though we understand through reason, but we cannot reason it out. The rishis see very clearly and they prescribe. If you do this work, you'll get this result. And the third is just I quoted in the beginning. We can see the panchatanmatras. We can see the subtler elements which make the gross elements. We can see the indriyas. We can see the mind. We can see the buddhi. We can see finally the Atman. So this is the subtler knowledge in the Vedas. Primary, again come back, is the God's knowledge of Devatas. Because we do not have selfishness. We are relatively pure. We are relatively unselfish. Then this Sangita portion,
आधी बंद करून चालू कर एकदा पाहायचं.
please others to keep quiet, please. Otherwise it disturbs. Huh? Please listen. So now this Devata Jnana,
हो
when does it reach its culmination?
साईडला
When we experience that these Devatas are different aspects of one reality, of one consciousness, of one bliss. Brahman we call it. And that gives a jump. If Devatas are there, we can ask them to give me this and give me that. And we are separate. And the matter is separate. This is consciousness in matter. Consciousness in cosmic matter.
चालू करू.
Cosmic variety of consciousness. That means Agni Devata will deal only with Agni. Vayu Devata will deal with Vayu. Indra will be the king of Devatas. But when this knowledge reaches the highest point, there is only one consciousness. There is nothing called matter. I am not separate from that
त्यांच्यात पुण्याने
consciousness.
काहीतरी मेसेज
There is a
पाठवलाय.
jump. And this is called Vedas. Vedas means supersensuous knowledge, which can be divided into three parts: Devata Jnana, Karma Phal Jnana, and Jnana of subtler entities.
मीट वर ना का झूम वर.
Devata Jnana and all these knowledges reaches its culmination when we know there is only one consciousness in the world. There is only consciousness in the world, no matter. When we cannot be separate from that, that is called Vedanta. And this Vedanta is generally in the Upanishads.
950.
What is happening? Why somebody is talking? Under the name Smita. Anyway, now what happens? This is Vedanta. Now Vedanta is found in Upanishads. And I was telling you that to explain to us, to make us reach, so many arguments, examples, steps are given. But then we come across a sentence which gives the conclusion. That is called Siddhanta Vakya. Siddhanta Vakya of Vedanta is the conclusive statement. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma is the conclusive sentence. Tattvamasi is a conclusive sentence. So Vedanta is flooded with this conclusive sentence. That is what Vedanta is made of. But to explain that, we get several things. Now, when we hear this conclusive sentence, that is only a means for us to experience Brahma. It is Gochar, that means available to Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta. Sarva Vedanta means there are various Upanishads. And in various Upanishads, there are various conclusive sentences. And when we listen to that conclusive sentence by our heart, when we listen to the conclusive sentence by our heart, heart is our means of experiencing supernatural truths, supersensuous truths. So, through the instrument which we have of experiencing supersensuous truths, when we listen to what is happening here, you are listening in the, shall I go on talking? If somebody has disturbed.
We can hear you, Swamiji. For some, you are audible.
Swamiji, you are
listening?
audible.
Please.
Please go ahead.
Huh?
You are audible, Swamiji.
Okay. Now it has come back. Okay. Okay. Now, I will make restatement of what I have been talking. Vedas means supersensuous knowledge. The primary supersensuous knowledge is Devata Jnana. It is much more direct than our so-called direct knowledge. But when this reaches its culmination, Vedanta does not mean end of Vedas physically, but the culmination of Vedic knowledge, which is Brahma Jnana, which is knowledge of one without a second reality, which is our reality, no matter outside, Brahman appearing as the whole world. When we do not see Brahman or consciousness, we call it matter. What is matter according to Vedanta? Brahman appearing through names and forms is the world. When we do not see the consciousness, we see only names and forms, and that is called Jada. Otherwise, there is no Jada. No Jada, no separate individual, only one reality. This is called Vedanta. And in this Vedanta, some sentences are there which conclusively give us this truth. And when we listen to that by our heart, then it shines in our heart. And that is called Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam. All Vedantic conclusive sentences are the means of experiencing something. About that something we have yet to come. I am going word by word. And experience will be in our heart, then tam agocharam. Now the gochar word, it is a poetry. So Shankar has a full right to use the same word with different meanings. Tam means that, agocharam. Now here the word gochar means indriyas will come. Agocharam means not available to senses, not available to mind, not available to eye consciousness, available only to eyeless consciousness, available only in our heart through the sentence telling our identity with Brahman. Sentences telling about our identity with Brahman, uttered by the rishis who have that experience, when heard by our heart, gives rise to a knowledge. That is the only way for knowing Brahman, agocharam. Otherwise, not available by any other means. Not available by indriyas, mind, eye consciousness, available by, as I repeat, eyeless consciousness. Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tam Agocharam. What is that? Govindam. Now, what is that Govindam? Govindam has two meanings. And if the meanings are valid, both have to be accepted, not all. Govindam, we know, is the name of Bhagavan Shri Krishna. Govindam, we know, is the name of Shankaracharya's guru, Srimad Govinda Padacharya. Padacharya is the honorific sentence we call it. His name is Govinda. Now, that Govinda, what is its reality? He appears to be a man teaching Shankaracharya. But what is his reality? That is not available to our senses. We can see a man from outside. We can see his body, but we are not seeing the real person. Let me quote a small incident here. A person was bragging that I have seen Shri Ram Krishna, and his behavior was not correct. Swami Vivekananda said, yes, Shri Ram Krishna's ghost, yes, not Shri Ram Krishna. Shri Ram Krishna's body he might have seen, but he has not understood or realized what is Shri Ram Krishna, so his behavior is refractive. And so, seeing Govinda Padacharya, his personality is possible only through the Siddhanta Vakyas. Siddhanta Vakyas, nature of reality, that is the nature of Govinda Pada. Govinda Pada's real nature is the same as real nature of Brahman, as the same as my or your real nature of everybody, that one has to see. So, otherwise you cannot understand what Govindacharya is. We cannot understand what Shankari unless we know his heart. So, Govinda available to not anything else, but available to the Vedantic conclusive sentences. And the other meaning is Bhagavan Shri Krishna. Govinda means, go here means Indriyas, Vinda means the master. Shri Krishna Bhagavan is told as the master of the Indriyas. Now, master of my senses and master of universal senses, master of his own senses, this is a degree applied only again to Brahman only. Govinda may be a form of that Brahman. Govinda may be a form of his teacher. Govindam, Paramanandam, that is he declares. He declares what is Govinda? Absolute bliss. Absolute bliss is the nature of Bhagavan Shri Krishna. Absolute bliss is the nature of Shankara's Guru Govindapad, and that can be known only not by Indriyas or mind or thinking. We may think and think and think. We may emotionally feel so many things. Unless we open our heart to experience the reality, supersensuous reality, the absolute reality, we cannot experience them. So, Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam is applicable to Brahman, is Agocharam, otherwise not known. Tam Govindam, that Govinda Padacharya, that Bhagavan Shri Krishna, or that Bhagavan in general, that Brahman in general. Sadgurum. Now, this shifts, this has two implications. Sadguru means the real Guru, not so-called Guru. The real Guru who can make us reach Brahman. And this is Govindapad. And through Govindapad, Shankar himself, at the end of Mandukya Karikas, he says, without him I could not have realized Brahman. So, Govindapad has helped Shankar to realize Brahman. So, why this Mangalacharya? He salutes him so that his knowledge of Brahman will shine and will make us perfect. The purpose of Mangalacharya is not formal, that one should bow down to his Guru. Why? The knowledge has come from that Guru, and that very knowledge Shankar is giving to us. So he does not want to stand in between. Let the knowledge coming from the Guru flow to all the listeners. That is the meaning of Vande. or the knowledge originally comes from God and it has come to Shankar, and let it flow to all of us. Where are these Vedas available? Eternally they are with God. But they have come to this world through rishis. And so, rishis' conclusive sentences, Govindapada's conclusive sentences, we may expand, if you like, Totapuri's conclusive sentences, through which Sri Krishna, the God incarnate, realized his own real nature. So, let that flow to us. Shankar does not want to stand in between to become an obstruction. He uses such language that we can get directly connected with the rishis who have given this knowledge, with Bhagwan himself, God, who has given us this knowledge. That is the meaning of the first shloka. Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tam Agocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum. So Sri Ramakrishna used to say there is only one Guru, Satchidananda. But the knowledge comes to us through mediums, through human beings. And so, if you take the Govinda to be meaning God himself, then he comes in the form of a Guru and teaches us. That will be the meaning. And if we take the Rishi himself as the meaning, then knowledge which is supreme, he has realized, and through him we are getting. And we are going down. Now, we are reminded of the last shloka of Shvatashvatar Upanishad, the last mantra, which declares the adhikar. Yasya deve para bhakti, yatha deve tatha guru, tasyaite kathita yartha prakashante mahatmana. One who has supreme devotion to God and the same supreme devotion to his guru, to him, this meaning of these words will shine in his heart as experience. So, this is what he is trying to convey here. And I'm saying trying to convey. He has conveyed in the best possible way. But if you open our heart, we get this meaning. Otherwise, it's a mere formal Mangalachar, formal salutation. Shankar is not given to any formality. Shankar is not given to bragging. That also I have found. Viveka, the great jewel of spiritual merits, Shankar is presenting in this book because we always require it in our sadhana, in our life, what is right and what is wrong, what is permanent and what is temporary, what is real and what is unreal, what we have reached highest state or not yet, all this is Viveka. And this Viveka stands supreme. And Shankar is writing a treatise. Now, this is the first sentence. Sadgurum pranatosmya. Now here again, if you go through the language, he does not say I bow down. I bow down also contains some I. Pranato asmi aham. When I approach this reality, when I approach my Sadguru, when I approach God, automatically my hand bends down. That is the meaning pranata asmi. Pranata asmi, I bowed down sufficiently. Pranata. Nata means bowed down. Pranata means very much bowed down. So I is being almost annihilated. I is being suppressed for that time so that the knowledge will flow to me. That is the only way the knowledge flows. Knowledge flows through love. Knowledge flows through bhakti. Knowledge flows through apparently a submissiveness. Knowledge flows through when I goes down and the Rishi's knowledge comes to me, that is knowledge, not by my intellect, not by my ego. And so, Pranata Asmi Aham, I am in a position of having bent down my head. Then, second shloka has to be very, very, very carefully taken because some words will have some literal meanings and we are not interested in those literal meanings. Here, in this sense, we are moderns. We want to take the spirit meaning of each word. And so, Adhikar is being told now in a series. We'll start today. Jantu nam nara janma durlabham. Jantu means a person having life, a person having consciousness. And due to consciousness, he has animation. That is called a Jantu. Jantu means a living being. Now there are smallest organisms like the in Vedanta blade of grass, and biggest, much more superior are the gods. But to be born as a man is most important. Why? Man has the right to go in the wrong way. Man has the right to go in the right way. Man has the right to change himself and become Brahman. This nobody else has. Of course, exception is told about Brahmaloka, but that is an exception. Now the Puranic stories of animals and all that are Puranic stories. They are meant to emphasize certain things. But unless we are human beings, we do not have the faculty, we do not have this heart, we do not have the faculty by which we can gain supersensuous knowledge, by which we can gain Bhagwan's knowledge, by which we can realize our own real nature. That faculty is given to man alone. And so, unless we are men, no, this is told in this way that if we are men, we should not lose this opportunity. If we are men, we should never lose this opportunity given to us to realize God. This is what we are. We are qualified. If we follow the proper method, we are qualified. So, Jantunam Narajanma Durlabham. Because we talk of, say, 84 lakhs of species. We may not have to travel through 84 lakhs, but there are 84 lakhs of species. Maybe how much many we do not know. But and out of that, we have got the human body. So, this human birth is such an important thing. It is a rare to achieve. Durlabha means rare to achieve. Everybody will achieve in course of time. But this point, we are a rare individual beings, please remember. All of us, we think, oh, we are nobody, we are not this, we are not that. That is foolishness. We are the being which is capable of realizing God in this very life. So, Jantunam Nara Janma Durlabham. Punsvam. I want to pinpoint this word more. Don't take Punsvam means male against female. Absolutely not. Plenty of women examples we know who are much more enlightened than men. And how do you say that human male body is superior? I don't take it. Impossible. Punsvam means a man with effort. That is the meaning of Punsvam. Punsvam means a man who makes some effort. Don't expect something to fall on you. You have to make effort. In this respect, I quoted some examples to you in my course of talk. In Karma Yoga, perhaps I don't remember. You see, when the India was partitioned, what we call refugees, Sharanarthis, came from Bengal and came from Punjab and Sindh. And we call them Sharanarthis. After some days, the Punjabis said, we don't want to be called Sharanarthis. We are Purusharthis. Give us opportunity to work, that is what we are seeking. We will work. And I was telling you a story. Once in train, one Sikh gentleman, he was telling me in Calcutta, I opened a factory and I'm employing 50 of Bengalis. Because they thought they are Sharanarthis. I am Purusharthi. So, Purusha means one who makes effort. And in language we say also Purushakar. So Punstvam means a man who makes effort. Do women not make effort? Yes. Their methods may be different. There is a place in Gaudpada's Mandukya Karika where he has to use some, in Sanskrit, always linga is there. So, yaha, he said yaha. Shankar says Striya Dayo Api. Yaha, Shankar says there Striya Dayo Api. So, the question of a male body against a female body, please forget. One who makes effort, that is Punstvam. It is not saying Pungan body also. Punstvam, the quality of a person who makes effort, that is called Punstvam. Tato Viprata, here again, Viprata means not Brahmina. I will tell you the original meaning of the word Viprata. We have to go to the original meanings. In Manu Smriti, there is a shloka. I have quoted it sometimes. Those who want to take down, please take down. Janmana jayate shudra. Sanskara dvija uchyate. Veda pati bhavet vipra. Brahma janati brahmana. By birth, everybody is shudra. When he starts his education, then he is called dvija, twice born. And when he completes his education, he is called vipra. So, only when he knows Brahman, he is called Brahman. Now, this study of Vedas, Vipra means one who has finished study of Vedas. Are we studying Vedas today? Are we not qualified? So here also literal meaning should not be taken. For today's people, I would say, one has read Swami Vivekananda's complete verse, one who has read Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita, one who has read, by which reading he has come to know that the aim of life is God realization. When we studied, whether he studied books or not, Sri Ramakrishna had disciples who were absolutely illiterate, more illiterate than him, and they became Brahmajnas. So this Vipura one should take to understand that one has studied those things which make him anxious to follow Brahman. In Shankara's life, we see the life, then understand. When he finished the study of Vedas, what he understood, I must go to a guru. I must realize Brahman, and for that I must go to a guru. And he walked from Kaladi in Kerala to Omkareshwar in central India. This is called Vipra. Jantu Nam. No, another side effect is, I do not know other languages in that, but in Marathi, this word Jantu is used for small insects. So you may be small insects, but if you are men, we may be men, but if we can make effort. With that, I was to tell you another story. Two friends are there, and one is not making any effort. So the other asked him, why you are not doing anything? He says, if there be God, he will give me on this spot. The friend said, no. If there is a God, he will make you get up. He will make you work and then give the fruit thereof. If there is a God, he will make you get up and do sadhana and then he will give you realization. God will not give you on the spot. So that is the punstvam, tato viprata. And among the people making self-effort, they must have understood the purport of all education. The purport of all education is to make a man qualified to realize God, is to make him be anxious to realize God, is to make him understand, get a yearning that the life is fulfilled only by realizing God, not by Humpty Dumpty, so many achievements. I got this job and it is a good job and it is this. Impossible. The very aim of life for everybody's life is to realize his own real nature. And for that training, that education, which makes you fit for that, is called Viprata. Viprata does not mean having read Vedas. Viprata does not mean being a born Brahmin. Viprata means being qualified to realize God, which everybody can. Everybody, when he has got those sanskaras, when he has come to that position that he feels a yearning to God, then he becomes qualified. So here, Narajanma, self-effort, Viprata, Tasmat, Vaidika Dharma Marga Parata. This also has to be understood in the same fashion. I think enough for the day. We'll take it up on Friday. The second shloka, the remaining portion of, I did not read it because we are as reading word by word and we are trying to follow. So the remaining part of the second shloka, I'll be taking on the Friday. This itself, even today's talk itself, should make all of us qualified to realize Brahma. It is coming from Shankara's heart and it should enter our heart and will be roused to get the knowledge of Brahma. That is the purport of this Viveka Chudamani. And so, going down to that Shankara again, through his Guru, along with him, Om Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmiyam. In this way, we bow down along with Shankara to Shankara's Guru, to God, through whom this knowledge is coming to us. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hare Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanam.